Welcome to the Dose of Good podcast, where I share with you good people and organizations doing good things. In our world, we constantly hear about the bad and negative things that go on, and I think we should hear more about the good happening every day that isn't shared or talked about as much. I will be featuring nonprofit organizations and the individuals who help them to be a success. I would also love to celebrate good people doing good and kind things on their own. If you know of anyone, send them my way. I'm your host, Erin Rowe. Now let's get into today's episode. Today on the Dose of Good podcast, I'm featuring Swirls Around the World. I became familiar with this nonprofit through an acquaintance who has a familial connection to them and told me about them, and I'm so glad that they did because it is an amazing organization of dedicated people who work hard in their daily lives to help others and make the world a better place. So Swirls Around the World is in honor of Matthew Swirls Cirelli. And from a young age, he was interested in helping others with special needs. He worked with individuals with autism, and their mission is to honor his legacy by embracing his courage, spirit, and kindness and pay it forward. And you'll hear a lot more about that in today's episode from Jen and Diane Caruso, who are family members of Matthew's and who help to run the organization to help others who are going through similar experiences that he went through and to continue his legacy of paying it forward and just making people's lives better and the world a better place, which is what we're all about here at the Dose of Good podcast. So I hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode, and let's get into it. Today I'm here with Jen Caruso, co-president of Swirls Around the World, and Diane Caruso, vice president. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
So could you start by telling me a little bit about the history of Swirls Around the World? How did it come to be in existence, and what's the organization's mission?
Yeah, I can start. So Swirls Around the World was started in memory of my cousin Matthew Swirls Cirelli. His nickname was Swirls it was given by his high school friends for his red curly hair. And he battled Ewing Sarcoma. He was diagnosed when he was 16 in January of around 2011, and he passed on December 8th in 2013. And as a way to, before he passed away, he had these yellow wristbands made that said Swirl Strong, and as a way to continue his legacy, we kind of just said, take these bracelets and bring it to a special place, and could be anywhere on vacation, anywhere that meant a lot to you. And it just started that people would bring the bracelet and they'd send us a picture, and we just posted on Facebook with a little caption. And then kind of as we became more involved with the pediatric cancer community, we just wanted to do more and wanted to really honor Matt and his way of paying it forward. So we decided in around 2017 to become a nonprofit and to do more with kind of our main mission pillars are we send packages called Swirls Packages of Love to kids battling cancer and their siblings kind of all over. We also do things called Swirls Warrior Days, where we kind of learn more about a child and their family and what they love to do and kind of plan a day, like just away from the hospital to break away from everything that's going on within their cancer diagnosis. And these days have included like trips to the zoo, sports games, all different types of things. And what's really cool is that we've been able to participate in these days for local kids, but also we've been able to plan these days for kids in different states. And while we're not always able to go, it's really cool to see it come to fruition. We also make around quarterly donations to Mass General of gifts where Matt was treated. And then another big part is the Matthew Swirls Cirelli Memorial Scholarship that we grant to seniors at Medford High School, where Matt went to high school.
Oh, that's great. Sounds like you do a lot of things through the organization to help out other people who might be going through something similar, that sort of thing. So, and I'm assuming you both got involved because it was a family member of yours. Okay. Could you tell me a little bit more about the Swirls packages and maybe what those would consist of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have just kind of like a simple form on our website that families can fill out, and that's where we get to learn really more about the child and their favorite things. And we really, one of the things that's really special is that we love to make it custom to the child that we're sending it to. So different types of toys, different, whatever their favorite things are, their favorite snacks. And then we do include like some standard Swirls things like t-shirts and bracelets and sometimes beanies.
Yes, that's it. We have a little system that we have going where Jen makes the connections with all these amazing, beautiful families. And then she'll say, okay, this is a list of people, Swirls packages that we'll send out. And these are some of the things that the kids love. So as Jen said, we do try to make it very personal to each child and send them out each month. And it can vary. In the beginning, when Swirls Around the World first started, we were maybe sending a couple of packages a month. Now we're up to maybe 30 some months 40 packages we'll send to families all around the country.
That's great.
To give back, yes.
Yeah. So Swirls Around the World comes from the fact of the bracelets and the fact that people have taken them all over the world. And am I correct in saying that you encourage people to share their pictures on like Facebook and stuff like that?
Yes.
That's great.
Everywhere they'll send a picture. And it really started with, it was Swirl Strong, and then Matt was featured in a news article. They came to the house and they did an interview because Matt did a Super Bowl prediction of who would win the Super Bowl, and then he passed away, but it actually came true.
Oh, wow.
So they came out and they did a spotlight on his story. And one of the bracelets, someone was taking it to the Olympics in China, I believe it was. And my sister said, oh, look, it swirls around the world. And that's how the name came about.
Okay.
And it just kind of stuck with Swirls Around the World.
That's great. Are you looking for volunteers? And if so, how do they get involved to help you out?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of have two of our bigger events. We have a pub crawl in the fall, and then we have a golf tournament in June. And always like even just maybe helping with that, or just volunteers to help us spread the word. We are smaller and still growing and getting the hang of things, but we appreciate all the support, and we have like a very close knit family and friends, and they're always willing to help. So we just
Yes, and they could reach out anytime on the Swirls Around the World website if someone was interested in volunteering.
Sure.
We absolutely love to have anyone join us
All right.
to help us out.
And for maybe someone who is in the hospital or looking for a Swirls package or something like that, do they contact you, or do they get referred to you through the hospital? How does that process work?
Usually they'll contact us directly. It is kind of cool that we've seen, like I remember getting a message one time from that usually in our Swirls like package of love form we'll say, how did you hear about Swirls? And sometimes we had one message, we heard it, like a family heard it from another family in the Children's Hospital of Alabama. So it's just cool to see, like, wow, people hear about us from all over. So yeah, different ways, usually through friends, through the social workers or child life specialists, or just directly.
Mm-hmm. And everything's on the Swirls Around the World webpage that we have. There's a form there that if you'd like to sign up for us to send a package to your child, you can do it right on the website.
That's great. And I know you touched on I forget exactly what you called it, but the Swirls Days. It seemed like you did a different variety of things for that. Are there any of those coming up that you'd like to promote, or is it, I guess if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I guess one that we had recently, which was really fun, was the Boston Bruins held their annual Hockey Fights Cancer Night a few weeks ago, and we rented kind of one of it's called the Rafter Suites, or one of the suites that you can rent for the game, and we invited, I think it was 4 families to host and to enjoy the game, and we with the help of the Boston Bruins Foundation, we've teamed up with them a lot as well, and the kids were able to like do sit on the bench for pregame and do some fist bumps with the players, and then after they got to meet the players for pictures and autographs. So that was really a really special night. And then in the summer we had 2 bigger Swirls days. We originally we started with just focusing on one child, but over the last few months we've been hosting groups, which has been really fun, just to see the families connect with each other and be able to share what they're going through and have someone who understands. And so in August we had a bunch of Swirls days. One was at Dave & Buster's, where we had a group of probably around maybe 7 boys and their siblings and their parents, and they just got to they were each given like a Dave & Buster's game card and just spend a couple hours playing games, the video games, and then we all sat together for lunch in like a big function room, and then another day we had was for girls, and it was at Market Street in Linfield, and we started at Kendra Scott, the jewelry store, and they all got to design their own necklace with their mom and if they brought their sisters or friends. And then we went to American Eagle and Aerie, and they got to kind of pick out, we each gave the girls a gift card, and they got to pick out their own outfit at Aerie, and then we ended up at the Yard House for lunch. So just those big groups, and those are really special.
They are special, and it's wonderful because the kids and the girls, they get to meet other kids as well, and they form these friendships that they wouldn't have met otherwise. So it makes it pretty special that they get to spend the day away from treatments and the cancer world, and parents get to meet other parents, and they talk about what they're going through. So it's really, Swirls Around the World has really grown and evolved into so much more than we ever thought it would be. And I think what we love so much about it is it's very personal, and we always tell everyone any money we raise, 100% goes right back into the packages, the Swirls days, whatever we can do for these families. So you can actually see it. You see, okay, my donation, they did a hockey day there, and that's what makes it pretty special, that you actually can see where the money goes to.
Yeah, I think that's great, and to hear that they can meet others going through the same situation as them and kind of feel supported by other people, that right there is just a great thing that you're doing for people. So, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think people should know in terms of Swirls Around the World, or anything with the organization?
I think one thing I'd like to mention, and Jen is sort of the heart and soul of Swirls Around the World and makes connections with these families. And I think what's pretty special is we remember these kids all the time. We have a board that we take with us to all of our events that has all of our angels and our warriors, and talking to families and talking to my sister, Matt's mom. The most important thing is they always want their kid remembered. In some way, they want their name remembered. So that's a piece that we will always honor them through Swirls Around the World, and remember them and say their name, and remember birthdays and anniversaries. And that's a big piece of what we do as well, that it is one day that we'll try to give these kids, but we remember them all year long.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I will say you were very thorough, because I had a bunch of questions and you answered pretty much all of them in your first answer. So, but one thing I do like to ask everybody who comes on is which nonprofit we should feature next.
Jen would be one that would probably
That's
know
a
that.
tough one. There's so many. There's a few
Locally.
Local. There's a wonderful organization that we connected with. It's the Janelle Lavender Tobin Foundation. Janelle also battle Ewing sarcoma, so the same as Matt, and she passed away. Today's actually her anniversary of when she passed. And they started this foundation in her honor, and we made the connection, and we actually attended some of her fundraising events, and they're really special, and they've attended our golf tournament, so they're a really special family. Oh yes, and then Camp Casco, Aaron, or
we're both Aaron.
yeah, we know Erin Murray is she's an incredible person who she runs an organization called Comfort Cuddles by Erin, and she does it all by herself. She makes blankets for kids battling all different types of illnesses, and she'll, similar to our Swirls packages, she'll send them nationwide, and it's incredible. Like, she really she gets an idea of what the child loves, and she creates blankets personal to them. So it's really beautiful, and you'll see that these kids take the blankets when they're admitted to the hospital, and you'll see them cuddled up in their blanket. So yeah, there's a lot of incredible people out there. So those are just a few, but
Definitely, yeah. Well, I'll make a note of those and reach out to them as well. So that's wonderful. And then the last thing is, what is the kindest thing you've ever witnessed or been a part of?
That would be tough to Jen to nail down. There's so much good and kindness.
Well, that's good to hear. That's partly why I started this, because I want to highlight and share those stories, because you hear so much about the bad and negative in the world, and I know there is so much good going on, and people just aren't hearing about it.
Yes, there's so much good. And you found that through the people who we've been in contact with Swirls Around the World.
Yeah.
You ask for help, and people are so happy to help or donate, or what can I do? How can I help? Which is pretty amazing. And the kids, the little warriors, when you see them and what they do,
I think just recently, I became part of the I'm a physician assistant in oncology, and I recently became a part of a committee on the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I think it's called like Visionaries of the Year, and I have the honor of getting to nominate amazing individuals for this campaign that they start in March through May. And there's this one person I recently connected with was a man named Mike, and what he does is every year he just he doesn't have really a personal connection to pediatric cancer, but for 11 years now he's been just kind of asking families what for their Christmas list and purchasing all the gifts for their kids.
Oh, wow. So
I think that's a recent thing that's been probably one of the kindest. Like the biggest heart, just no personal connection, and it just kind of out of the goodness of his heart, I got to help him connect with some families in need, and he's up to probably, I think, 18 kids so far, and he's growing every year, so I think I just connected with him this year, but I think that's one of the kindest things that I've ever recently that I've ever been a part or witnessed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I thank you both for being here and for the amazing work that you're doing to help others and make the world a better place. And it's nice to be able to do this and kind of reiterate the fact that there is a lot of good in the world. And hopefully by having this podcast and letting people know that, they'll get to see that too. So
thank you for having us on. It's an honor to be here. We love sharing Matt's story.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all that you're doing and spreading kindness.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and learning more about Swirls Around the World. I greatly appreciate Jen and Diane taking time out of their day to be on the podcast with me and tell us more about this wonderful organization. I will leave all of the information for Swirls Around the World in the description of the podcast, as well as YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. I hope that you will take some time to look into this organization yourself and learn more about the great work that they are doing. I also hope that this episode has inspired you to reach out to others, be more kind, and help out in your community. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Erin Rowe, and I'll see you soon.